Okay, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Valerie King from University College Cork, and we thought it would be interesting for you to hear about our creative zone and the Blackstone LaunchPad. I actually don't have a script with me, so I'm just actually talking you through these. This is what the context for it generally, why we created a creative zone. Our early design phase, the Blackstone, when they arrived, our operational management of it, the implementation and impact year one, and it's not even quite year one, we just opened in September last year. Some of the lessons we learned, and a short video to show you what I'm talking about, the creative zone. Okay, I'm starting back in the 15th century. This is a little indulgence of mine because this is a library in Florence, which I visited 2 years ago, and it's the Medici Library. And I would suggest that libraries have always been very good at collaboration, and even the Medicis were. So this library was set up through Cosimo Medici, who was he hung around the academy at the time, and the academy was the equivalent of the university, and he inherited a load of manuscripts which made up the collection for this library. Plus, at that same time, Michelangelo created the floor there that you see on in the library, and also on the cloister on the way in, Brunelleschi, who was a famous architect at the time. So all of these collaborated together, some for their own benefit as well. It showcased their work, and it also, at that time, having these manuscripts indicated that you were quite powerful. You access the manuscripts in these pew-like seats, and the chains are still there, and the manuscripts were chained to that. Okay, so that's really just about the way the users access the information at that stage and the collaboration at the same time. Fly on by to the 1980s, we had our medical library in the medical faculty in the anatomy department in the 1980s. Students studied there, as you see. These were all medical students, so the same type student, the same cohort of students together. And again, you can see all their textbooks piled up, and they accessed the information by having to go to the librarian, who had a big bunch of keys, and went to those presses and opened it up and pulled those out. So that was probably familiar to a lot of people in a lot of libraries at that time. So we moved on. Again, in the 1980s, this was a sort of communal reading room in UCC, where it was quite innovative at the time to have actually all the students in together from all the different faculties, as opposed to just, say, medical students. Again, you can see the collection of textbooks, but some poor students had to leave back, and there was no plugs or data coming in there at that stage. We come up to 2007, which is nearly 10 years ago now, and we have our study spaces like this in the Boole Library, and different kind of chairs, not much evidence of huge collections all around, not piles of books piled up on the tables, so it kind of changes again. So that really sets the context to what we tried to do with here. I'm just putting in this again because this is in the Hunt Library, which a lot of people have gone to already, which I was a few weeks ago. And this is another collaboration in the 21st century. And when you come into the Hunt Library, they share the space with the Institute for Emerging Issues. And I was quite taken with that, because when you go around that institute and look at the things they're doing, they're solving global problems like environmental things and economic. And it very much sort of was connecting with what the students were actually doing in studying in the library as well. So that was all part of that. So that's a new kind of collaboration in the 21st century. Here I was attended that very good symposium in Library Future Symposium, TCD, a couple of weeks ago, and Jeffrey Schnapp, I think his name was, yes, Jeffrey Schnapp, he actually he talked about the library as a lab for testing, used the library as a lab for analysing data and testing smart devices, furnishings and designs for experimental classrooms. We didn't realise we were actually doing it and I'm getting to our creative zone. And the picture on the right there, the image there is of the room that we have the creative zone in now. We actually moved a collection out of the space. It's about half the size of this room. And we didn't know what to do with it. We had no money to do anything with it. So we started kind of testing a few different things. Somebody said, well, what if we put a projector in there and we gave some classes in there? So that happened. Somebody else said we should maybe use it as a group study room and say, well, that happened. Oh, that worked. That was good. Maybe we should have an event in there. Oh, that worked. That was good. So then we sat down and we realized that actually it worked for all of those things. And how could we make a room that could be all of those things together? So that's what we did, really. So we talked to our architectural draftsperson, who was really key in this. And we gave him a brief. We had no money still at this stage for a different kind of learning area, and that it would look different from our 2007 model, and it was more relaxed, that you could reconfigure tables, you could do different things. And we were very lucky with him because he understood what we were actually talking about. And he was quite excited that the librarians were thinking in this way, oh, free up everything. And, so he went off on to design something that we were telling him. Actually, I wonder, could our IT just click on that there, because this was the initial 3D design. Just, I'd say if you just click on it, it'll just show, yeah. So this is what he came up with first from our conversations with him. And we thought, yeah, that's looking good. That's getting to where we think we should. And we wanted a kind of zoned areas where all these activities could happen together. Okay. So that was the very initial design. Okay. So we were quite excited about that, but at the same time we still had no money to do anything with it. But we thought, great, we have the idea for it. The money will come, and it did come. Blackstone, without any of us realising, were on campus one day, looked around, arrived on our campus, and thought they absolutely loved the location of our library, and then. Talking to various people, they had heard that we had a room that we had designed a space for. So we had this 3D design ready to show. And they were there just one day. And we showed them the design, and they actually, I better not fall again, and they decided that this would fit in with their sort of ethos in creating a very creative space, sort of an energy place, and that will be, excuse the typo, that should be all, and that would be open to all. So we were delighted because they were going to part fund it. And yes, we did. We took their money. This was the location. This is the first picture there is the restaurant in the university, and all the students pour out of that. They pour out of these lecture halls on the right-hand side from a basement area, and that little strip there down at the end, that they would be facing into the creative zone, Blackstone. So all those little factors added up to how that had actually worked for Blackstone and for us. So then the collaboration grows, the library, buildings and estates, Blackstone. The Faculty of Business and Law were the lead on the dealings with Blackstone. Remember, they were in the States, they weren't actually based in Ireland, so all of the communication was over to Montana and Miami as well. Students' Union thought it was a great idea, let's go for it, and then we had the IT services on board. All of the nuts and bolts that everybody goes through with a refurb, the hardwiring was particularly difficult in that room because the ceiling had to come down, the floor had to come up, and the furniture, the design, the refinement of that initial design. AV sound was hugely important, and we met with our sound guy, the sound engineer, in the very first stages, because we felt if you can't hear in a hall, it's hopeless, and we wanted to ensure that the sound was going to be good. So there were certain things he did for that. Branding, advertising, and operational management. There was a memorandum of agreement between UCC and Blackstone. Again, that went on for a long time, for a good few months. There was a lot of things around IP, intellectual property, and there was a lot of, and then about the actual look of the space as well. It was important for the library that we wanted it open to all students, not just for students of business and law. It needed to be everybody, and they were fine with that. It was a 50-50 budget split. The operational liaison, we were very lucky at the time. We had just restructured, and we had appointed a new liaison librarian that was a services coordinator. So the director and the manager hadn't arrived on campus yet. And so she was the first person that was going to greet them and was going to start the relationship with Blackstone. And that was very key to how we were going to get on with them. And so these are the kind of, we felt then at a later stage, and it's still very much at the relationship forming stage in that year one, but if that went well, we could go on then and work with them on actual projects. And I would have things in mind for, particularly with our college liaison librarians, that we could do things around the entrepreneurial space with actually Blackstone staff as well. These are the kind of things the students just said, a few things here about the space. Immediately that we opened the doors, they actually took to it. We didn't have to tell them, we hadn't even any branding up. We didn't have to tell them what it was. And we also felt that it was important that it wasn't just about the look, it was about the experience they felt in there. What do they feel when they actually work in there? And you'll see on the video a student talking about that. And so there were initial comments. These are the type of activities that happened there. Group work, project, consultations, student union, business and law brainstorming sessions. We had an entrepreneurial conference there, university events we hold in there as well. We had health matters, which is huge in the university. We had early morning Tai Chi, stress support for pre-exams. We had pet a dog in there, and adult colouring. And lots of different chairs, not as many as the Hunt Library. We have 5 different kind of chairs. These were all robustly tested in the space by our business manager, and who has 5 teenage sons and felt he knew how teenagers used space. One of these mushroom chairs, very popular, and I felt it was going to be a success when there was the entrepreneurial conference. All the business suited students came, and one of them was sitting on that doing his finance on the mushroom day one. That is the entry to the reception. They have student ambassadors actually working there, and the director and manager are in there. That kind of style that it looks like when it's auditorium. Here, the sound here, those are buffer sounds at the, over there, those big pebbles. There for this sound. And that's what it looks like out in the front. Lessons learned, we like the idea of a lab concept, that you could test out things and not to have it perfect from the very beginning, and obviously do the research. And it did help to have an architect who was our champion, and high quality chairs. We haven't enough, but we're waiting until we have enough money to get the proper ones. And also to remain open. Things happen. Blackstone arrived. We had no idea that they would, but we were ready when they actually arrived. There'll always be budget constraints, but I think we just need to go ahead and plan anyway. And just the video now?
How long is the video?
The video now, 2 minutes?
No, I'm afraid there's no time.
Oh, is there not?
Yeah, we'll have to link to the video later.
Okay.
Yeah.
This space on the ground floor of the library came vacant when
Move on to
we
that.
housed the collection.
Sorry about that.
Sorry.